Is human nature inherently good or evil? This is a question whose definitive and unified answer could potentially change the world. Unfortunately, no scholar or great philosopher has yet provided a response that unites all minds. Long before the creation of philosophical or psychological methods to study human nature, people already questioned and debated the concepts of good and evil within our hearts. Today we tend to accept the view of the Confucian philosopher Mencius, who said that human nature is inherently good, or the ideas of great thinkers like the Greek philosopher Plato and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who believed that humans are not born evil. These perspectives are widely accepted because they comfort and encourage us to express the goodness within ourselves. However, there exists another school of thought which argues that humans are born with evil tendencies and must strive to control the darkness within their minds, instincts, or souls to avoid falling into sin. These views are less popular and have even been strongly rejected during certain periods, as no one wants to bear the label of being inherently bad from birth. So what exactly are these opposing views? Why are they controversial? And why do they still play an important role in the study and development of humanity? Christianity and Buddhism offer different perspectives. Christianity, one of the world's major and influential religions, teaches that Jesus is the Son of God who preached to the people, suffered, was crucified, and rose again on the third day to save humankind. Through the Bible, Christianity explains the creation of the world, the appearance of humans, the concepts of good and evil, and how to live a virtuous life. Like any other religion, Christianity is built upon enduring beliefs meant to guide human behavior toward what is right and good. Unlike Buddhism, which teaches that humans are egoless and lack a permanent self, Christianity views humans as separate beings with awareness of right and wrong and inherently sinful. According to the Bible, God created humans in His image and gave them understanding and attributes such as love, mercy, honesty, kindness, and patience. However, the Bible also states that humans failed to preserve these virtues and allowed sin to distort them. Thus, sin is also part of human nature. One of the most well-known biblical stories exploring this is the fall of Adam and Eve. According to the Bible, Adam was created from dust and Eve from his rib. They were pure and good, destined for an immortal life in Eden, free to enjoy everything except the forbidden fruit. However, a serpent symbolizing evil tempted Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Adam and Eve gave in to temptation and ate it. This is called the fall. It marks a milestone where the two officially are no longer pure individuals, but have come to know the evils of life. The forbidden fruit brought the capacity to evoke concepts of negativity and wrongdoing. From both falling and violating God's prohibition, Adam and Eve lost their purity and goodness, their perfect nature. They were punished for their fall by being deprived of eternal life in the Garden of Eden and cast down to earth to face death. From the sinful fall of Adam and Eve, the nature of sin was passed on to all humankind. Contrary to Christian beliefs, Buddhism does not believe that humans were created by a supreme being, nor do they inherently possess good or evil, holiness or sin. Buddhism views humans as microcosms of the universe, formed from the combination of name and form, meaning they have both physical and psychological components. The Buddha stated that humans consist of material and spiritual elements combined, but humans do not arise naturally. They are formed through conditioned phenomena. Humans are born from the harmony of causes and consciousness. When physical elements meet the necessary conditions and causes, they form visible entities called form, and with mind a living being exists. Human life arises due to conditions. When conditions converge, humans are born. When conditions disperse, humans perish. People in life can choose suffering or enlightenment. We suffer because we still desire and fear, but when we understand the laws of nature and the impermanence of the world, we can reach nirvana and transcend suffering. That is how Buddhism differs from Christianity. In the Buddhist view, humans are not created by God, not lured away from purity, and do not bear eternal sin. From the Buddhist perspective, humans are the sum of universal elements. Zunzi's view contrasts with the familiar idea that human nature is originally good. He proposed the opposite. Human nature is originally evil. Zunzi was one of the 7 distinguished Confucian scholars of China, living in the state of Zhao from 316 to 237 BCE, during the late Warring States period. A descendant of Confucius, he deeply inherited and understood Confucian thought and contributed to systematizing Confucius's works. Though a prominent Confucian, he did not fully support traditional Confucian ideas. Instead of governing with benevolence and highlighting original human goodness like Confucius, Zunzi advocated for governing with ritual and law. For he believed human nature is originally evil. People are born with evil tendencies that require cultivation and education to become good. Delving into his philosophy, Zunzi believed people are born with desires, greed, lust, selfishness, and indulgence. These traits are innate and cannot be eliminated. Human nature is the same for everyone. Even sages and ordinary people possess evil tendencies. If people live by instinct and allow instinct to dominate, they will act negatively, compete, and create a chaotic society. Therefore, Zunzi promoted the use of rituals and laws to regulate human behavior and nature. However, Zunzi himself acknowledged that altering human nature is extremely difficult, and only the elite can do it. The difference between a virtuous person and an ordinary one lies in the ability to restrain the evil within and to pursue goodness. But what is good and what is evil? Zunzi believed that anything that brings peace, prosperity, and well-being to the people is good, and anything that causes war and chaos is evil. Ultimately, Zunzi was like many Western philosophers who later emphasized the collective happiness of society and encouraged behaviors that preserve this great happiness. Zunzi's views were partially rejected because they were seen as extreme, but his original intention was always to pursue goodness and help people become better both in mind and action. Human nature is inherently evil, so people need measures to restrain and transform themselves. He compared this to a crooked tree that must be steamed, heated, and molded to be straightened, or a dull blade that must be sharpened. To become good, humans must be educated, especially in terms of the heart or mind. Educating the heart means educating awareness and understanding. When a person's heart is educated and trained, it helps distinguish what is good or bad, what should or should not be done. This idea was later developed by his student Han Fei into the legalist theory, a doctrine that became prominent in the work Han Feizi and later became widely influential not only in the East. Zunzi appeared to directly contradict the founder of Confucianism, Confucius, and his successor Mencius, by asserting that human nature is originally evil, in contrast to Mencius's belief that human nature is originally good. These two opposing viewpoints laid a solid foundation for future generations to develop many philosophical doctrines for the modern world. More than 2,000 years after Zunzi's era came the ideas of Sigmund Freud, an Austrian neurologist considered one of the most controversial thinkers of the 20th century and known as the father of modern psychology. He proposed many psychological theories that served as the basis for mental health research and treatment methods. Freud's main contribution was the discovery of the unconscious mind as the layer of thought and foundation guiding all human behavior. Like Zunzi, Freud's theories were widely known in his time and generated much controversy. Many people used his theories as the basis for developing psychological research and therapeutic methods. Some brilliant psychologists influenced by Freud included Anna Freud, Carl Jung, Melanie Klein, Erik Erikson. Although Freud lived nearly 200 years ago, human nature has not changed, whether in the past or the present. Freud observed that there are two opposing instincts within humans, eros and thanatos. Eros is the life instinct that seeks satisfaction of desires, lust, and the continuation of life, such as the cravings for food, sex, material wealth, money, fame, and fortune. These desires are all part of eros and are natural, originating from the instinct for survival. This perspective partially overlaps with that of Zunzi in Eastern philosophy, as both express the presence of desire in humans. Thanatos, or the death instinct, is a term used by Freud to describe the desire to destroy a negative psychological state characterized by a compulsion to break things and destroy everything regardless of death, as a way to resolve life's tensions and deadlocks. The lowest expression of Thanatos is anger, something even artificial intelligence could potentially experience. It represents the mildest form of negative emotional release, projected outward to ease internal discomfort. This is when the Thanatos instinct emerges uncontrollably or without regulation. Jealousy and envy leading to harm, or hatred and rage, culminating in the killing of others, are extreme manifestations of Thanatos. The two instincts, one of desire and, when unmet, leading to destruction, ultimately result in negative consequences for individuals and society. This mirrors Junzi's argument about inherent evil in humans. Freud believed humans tend to act based on instinct, while reason is what restrains these impulses. If Eros and Thanatos dominate from within the instinctual realm, people will act selfishly and extremely, and only willpower or conscious awareness, what distinguishes humans from animals, can prevent such behavior. However, whether reason can entirely suppress instinct, and to what extent it can do so, remains an unanswered question. If reason triumphs, humans will act humanely and society will develop. Otherwise, a dark portrait will quickly emerge. In reality, depending on each case, specific circumstances, individuals or societies, the ability and degree of rational control over Eros and Thanatos vary. According to Freud, the only way is through self-discipline and training to maintain rationality. Niccolò Machiavelli and Thomas Hobbes contributed to a more systematic philosophical exploration as science progressed. Discussions about good and evil in the human mind also became more structured. Niccolò di Bernardo Machiavelli, born in 1469 and died in 1527, was a talented politician renowned in the Florentine Republic and one of the greatest political philosophers of the Renaissance. He left behind significant political philosophy works that opened a new era in Western philosophical history. He is highly regarded by Marxists for his secular political stance, excluding religious authority from political power. His political views stood apart from contemporary theories. Machiavelli's view of human nature, expressed in crisp, possibly referencing La Mandragola or his writings broadly, analyzed humanity as a combination of extreme traits and emphasized that this is the true portrait of our species. Thus, political measures must be designed to regulate human behavior. In Discourses on Livy, he wrote that humans are ungrateful, deceitful, always seeking to avoid danger and desiring personal gain. In The Prince, he wrote that the common characteristics of humans are ingratitude, inconsistency, and hypocrisy. In many of his other works, he repeatedly emphasized the dark nature of humanity. Niccolò Machiavelli also believed that people do not always reveal their evil nature to others, but when the right conditions and timing arise, no one resists doing wrong. He believed people only do good when they have no other choice, and that every good deed stems from a context where they could not act otherwise. Sharing this view was John Adams, the founder of American democracy, who wrote that everyone becomes a tyrant if given the chance. Thus, to ensure people do only good and avoid evil, they must be placed in an environment where only good actions are possible, and the law is the only tool that can achieve this. Thomas Hobbes, Machiavelli's intellectual successor, was a British philosopher, scientist, and historian. Although the son of a poor clergyman, he was fortunate to receive an education and support, which allowed him to observe and study all levels of society. His famous philosophical works made him one of the most outstanding political theorists in Britain. Hobbes created a renowned work considered to inherit Machiavelli's views on human nature. Although they lived in different countries and eras, both men shared the same perspective and therefore proposed similar methods of governance, or rather regulation, of human behavior. Like Machiavelli, Hobbes believed that human nature is greedy, selfish, and glory-seeking, which drives envy and competition. He asserted that people find joy by comparing themselves to others. If left to live freely according to their nature, the world would be filled with rivalry, jealousy, and conflict, which has already happened many times. Thus, Hobbes proposed a common authority that everyone fears to prevent wrongdoing and guide people toward good. He demonstrated that life without a state would lead only to war and danger, outlining the inevitable path for humanity to attain safety and happiness by transitioning from a stateless society to one with a strong state capable of regulation and protection. Only law and the state can pull us out of the cycle of base instincts. The views of both Machiavelli and Hobbes were not highly valued in their time, largely due to their extreme perspectives and harsh language. Even now, their ideas remain controversial, though they have formed the foundation for many later theories. Ultimately, people prefer what is pleasant to hear. In contrast, there exists a completely opposing theory that is more popular, widely recognized and accepted, namely Darwin's theory of evolution and the research based on it. One school of thought believes that humans have survived for tens of thousands of years thanks to cooperative individuals, while other species related to humans went extinct despite being stronger, faster, and better adapted. Human nature to survive in the wild required mutual support and bonding. This explains why many larger and stronger animals could not persist into the modern era as humans have. Studying human nature is a difficult but necessary task. A correct and unified answer could lay the foundation for educational methods and psychological research, as well as the development of legal frameworks to regulate human behavior. However, this is a difficult task, and all the answers we have proposed so far remain inconsistent, leading to many conflicting and opposing theories. The positive aspect of these debates is that future generations will have access to diverse research, methods, and different approaches to development, promising more progressive ideas in the future.